there are the Ferrari SF90XX on the left and the Ferrari SF90 on the right, and they're both the Stradale model. They're both made by BURAGO. On the left you have the darker red one is the newer version, an updated street legal version that's also a track car. One of the first things you immediately notice is that the front end looks a little different. The headlights have a different look. They're more distinctive on the SF90XX. They're painted that kind of silvery look. But also what you notice too is that the splitter is all the way across on the bottom on the SF90XX. It's a tongueful to say that all the time. And also you can see it's lower as well. So it's tilted downwards to give the car more close, I guess, wind resistance to push it down on the front end when it's going faster. You have about the same kind of like overall design, but on the SF90XX, you have the splitter all the way across again, unlike on the other one. It kind of just comes out on the edges, but both depicted in carbon fiber. Then you have the bottom red part that comes just above the splitter. It's a little different shape than the SF90, and then the intake looks a lot bigger on the SF90XX, and they got those extra gills on the sides underneath the outside edge of the tail or the headlights. There is also a difference in terms of the leading edge of the car, the way it's designed. It's, you know, similar, but has that line, that black indented area all the way up along the front leading edge of the hood, and so that's a very different look. And then also in the middle of the two huge air intakes, you have a different looking kind of a sensor or something in the middle there. I can't quite comprehend what that is. But then you have, of course, the badges, Ferrari badges on both, but then on the hood you can see the deep grooves for the air coming out from those bottom air intakes and out the top. You also have the two distinctive vents in black notched in to that hood as well. The windshields are pretty much the same. Both sport that shark fin at the top. But yeah, both cars look absolutely amazing from the front, but there's that little bit of edge with the extra aero on the SF90XX. So when you see the front ends of both cars facing each other here, you can definitely see the SF90XX on the left has a lower stance, and it's kind of tapering more at a steep angle near the front end to allow for more aerodynamic efficiencies. And you can see on the side at the bottom too, bigger splitter, definitely, and ribs for support underneath. There's also that piece on the front end here that in front of the tire that just protrudes out and down, whereas the SF90 on the right just has kind of that open mouth look, that shark mouth look. The headlights, of course, a little different, as I mentioned in the other section, but there's a deeper tone of metallic red on the left. There's a lot more sparkle in that paint versus the SF90 on the right. And also you'll notice that above the tires, both the front and the back on the SF90XX, you have the vents over the tires for the cooling of brakes and the movement of air. The rims are essentially the same, but we do have on the BURAGO SF90XX, you have the yellow calipers. And just a little note of distinction too is in the interior, you can see there's actually a variation of the seat color in the SF90XX as well. So that's a very different look in terms of adding some character to the car, nuance. They've done a really good job of that. And here we can see the back end of both Ferraris, the SF90XX on the left and the SF90 Stradale on the right. And what's of course more striking is those bottom sills there on the left just more pronounced and jut out more near that back tire. Of course, the yellow brake caliper again on the back stands out. The air scoop has a different look as well. There's a kind of a bar at the middle and then kind of a circular concave shape at the top, depicted in a carbon fiber print. There's also those louvres or those vents over the tires at the back with the 3 indents there. And then of course what really stands out too is the different look on the back end with that huge spoiler on the SF90XX. And in addition, you have the shark fin just below above the engine bay window, and you can barely see a couple of vents just above that as well. And then the engine bay window does look a little different. But along the back side of the SF90XX, you can see also much bigger vents for the engine. You've got that kind of upside down shark fin that wraps around the back of the back tire, and it allows for those big rims and then that red piece coming down amongst all the huge diffuser on the back end. And so on the SF90, you just have those 2 little lines that kind of come down from the taillights towards the back tire. But then you can see the diffuser there, which is typical of a lot of cars, but the SF90XX on the left definitely has a lot more ribs and pockets and raised much higher to the almost to the top of the trunk. And of course you can see the taillights also look different. There's a white strip on the SF90XX versus the kind of oblong oval shape taillights of the SF90 Stradale on the right. Here's a look at both of the cars from the back end directly. And on the left, the SF90XX, you can see written on the license plate there. On the right, the SF90 Stradale. And so as mentioned before, those much bigger diffuser and also vents for that huge engine increase, a huge spoiler on the top. Both have the brake light in the middle there, but the SF90XX Stradale has also a kind of a second spoiler that's lifts from the body there, just kind of above that brake light. You can see pockets of air in there. The spoiler is depicted in a carbon fiber print. The 2 exhausts come out pretty much the same area, but of course have a lot different look with more black material and mesh for breathing. So the diffuser is much more visible actually on the SF90 Stradale on the right. You can see the 4 ribs underneath there that give structure to it, as well as the top part there with the backup lights and brake lights below, and possibly signal lights. But both have about similar size of tire. I don't notice actually for the first time, just realizing now, I don't see a Ferrari symbol on the back of the SF90XX Stradale, which is interesting. You can see it firmly, of course, badge on the back there on the SF90 Stradale, of course. And the big difference on the SF90XX is that white, clear plastic that depicts the lights across the back. And I'm assuming that's when it's just clear, but then it lights up red when you're braking. So it goes all the way across. But the SF90XX does have a pretty massive diffuser underneath as well, but there's only kind of 3 ribs on each side and then small ribs in between for the airflow to go under the car to suck it down and to keep it stuck to the track. So those are kind of the major differences that we can see from the back between these. From this angle you can see the engine bay in the back end here. The SF90XX on the left has those extra 2 vents on top of the window of the engine bay. Both have the dual fuel tank fuel caps on either side. But the windows look very much similar in terms of their size and shape. The only difference is the one on the left, the double X version, they have more like ribs, and the one on the right just has the perforation look on the engine bay window. But yeah, you can see the same overall top with the shark fin there, and everything from the mirrors to that intakes look similar from above, but from what I look at from this angle, a little bit to each side, it looks like the actual wheel well is actually taller on the SF90XX. So I guess it's just giving more room and space for the engine. But other than that, those look like the main differences from this angle. This angle here allows you to see into the actual car and to see how the seats on the SF90XX stand out so much with a more that beige interior of the seat lining on the front. And so it just pops a little bit more. About the same windshield wiper look. Of course, the nuances, the difference of the headlights and the air intakes or airflow looks different on the Stradale XX. And those bars look a little different, but yeah, that back intake definitely has that bigger scoop on the top. So anyway, hope you enjoyed kind of the breakdown of differences between the two vehicles. And